Sound check your cars. Hey, Myrna, can you hear us okay? Can anyone hear us?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear.
There we go.
Let's try that again. Myrna, can you hear us? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Oh.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Norm Davis. I have the pleasure of chairing this meeting. If you can see me waving, I don't know if we can, but this is a interactive virtual meeting. So I apologize for starting a little late. We had another meeting that we just finally conducted. So it's important to us. This is a, public meeting with input. So I'm glad everyone's here. So we are going to get started with today's agenda. And so we are just a little delayed. I got about 1:10. So welcome, everyone. I hope you've had an opportunity or do have the agenda in front of you. That's what we'll be following today. And the first item on the agenda is a call to order and roll call. Allison, can you call roll?
Chairman Davis.
Here.
Vice Chair Mattingly.
Here.
Member Hughes. Absent. Member Cherry.
Here.
Member Marbury. Here, but he's stepped out.
He's here.
Member Roth.
Here.
Member Bonda.
Here.
I speak, but I can't hear you.
Myrna,
Can you hear me?
Here you are.
Okay, sorry, I'm here. Can you hear me or no? I'm trying to, okay, perfect, all right.
And the Prescott National Forest seat is vacant, but we have a quorum.
Thank you, Allison. Item number 2 on today's agenda is the Title VI policy and meeting procedures. Allison, can you what's required there?
CYMPO complies with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and related non-discrimination statutes and regulations in all programs and activities. Members of the public may review the CYMPO Title VI plan and submit a self-identification survey by accessing the CYMPO website.
Thank you, Allison. Next item is call to the public. This item provides an opportunity for presentation of comments by the public on subjects not on today's agenda. Individuals wishing to address the board need not request permission in advance and will limit to 3 minutes. Do we have any in person?
Yeah.
Comment on our agenda? And we were on item number 3. I just had a little disruption of service here. Just want to make sure any member of the public that's virtually, if they would like to comment on something other than what's on the agenda today, we're going to wait just a little bit while we confirm if there's anyone that wants to comment on this item.
I see that member Hughes is now in attendance.
I don't see any members of the public that comment on anything not on the agenda. So we'll move on to item number 4 on today's agenda, which is consideration and possible action to approve the August 4th, 2022 regular meeting minutes of the Technical Advisory Committee. Has the Technical Advisory Committee had an opportunity to review the minutes? Any comments or additions?
Mr. Chair. Second.
Then Dan will be the second. It's been moved and second to accept the minutes of the August 4th regular meeting. All in favor, please say an aye.
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 Going too fast. I didn't hear any nays, so that carries unanimously. Thank you, and I will wait next time for everyone to respond. Item number 5 today is the Sunbelt Connector update, and Lindsay Post is going to handle this item for us.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you all are probably aware, and I'll stand for this one because I want everybody to hear it. The Sundog Connector Public Open House is coming up on September 7th, but in all things Sundog Connector, there's been a lot of activity. So to prepare us for the public open house, to make sure that every member of the public who wants to come can come and give feedback. So to that end, you probably have heard, I was on the radio this morning. It was a highlight of my day. There was a PSA that they did on our behalf before that. So that's been running all week and it'll run right up until the 6th. There's a newspaper ad that we put out to get the word out. So that's both in print and online. And that's to really make sure that we hit a wide demographic of folks in the area. We're also have a Facebook ad out, and our local partner agencies like Prescott Valley and Prescott have also helped push that out. Another exciting update for the Sundog Connector for the public open house is collecting some drone footage. So we have a drone operator who is getting footage from us from terminus to terminus. It is a little bit difficult. The remaining portion in Prescott Valley has a 0 sightline visibility. So there needed to be a special permission from the FAA to finish that section over by the Home Depot. But we did get, without the FAA's needing us to give us any, okay, we did get 75% of the corridor captured. So that drone operator is producing footage for us to show at the open house. The open house will be an interactive, come as you can and stay as long as you want. There's no time that somebody would miss a presentation. It's all completely interactive where the public can circulate through stations and interact with technical staff members about that topic. It'll also give ample opportunity for the public to give feedback. As I've said, as much as I can, my goal for this project is full transparency and interaction and collaboration with members of the public and our stakeholders. So I welcome every single bit of input that we get, and it is shared with our consultant partners for public involvement. The TAC members here today received the draft presentation materials, not necessarily presentation, but storyboard materials for the public open house. Thank you for those who had comment and provided comment. I asked you for comment last night at like 6 p.m. and you did it. So thank you so much. That's been given to the consultants for them to start producing. And now here I'll be able to share it with the rest of the group in the room here today, who are members of the public, but are stakeholders from the HOA and from Yavapai Hills, who have been really, really great partners. So I appreciate it. What else would I like to say on that? I just really hope that the public open house is successful. I hope a lot of people show up. I thank you all so much for your participation in that, because it's already off to a really great start. So Allison and I will go finish up some details after this at the mall, but everything else is going off without a hitch. Any comments or questions about the Sundog Connector up to this point?
Well done, Lindsay. I just want to echo again, this is a public open house, so this is the opportunity to come one, come all. You can come to the 4 to 6, it's interactive anytime during that time period, but it's important too, if you want to send in written comment, and that's very much appreciated also. So we make sure that it gets into the document record. This scope of work does include a lot of media and public outreach, specifically to make sure we document all the comments, and that becomes part of the study at the end. So written comments, I know, reminded me we got written comments today. I know I got copied from the Yavapai Hills Homeowners Association. It was important as we continue to shape and move forward with the scope of work with our consultant, AECOM. But we're really looking forward to next week taking up for the county. Anyone else from the TAC have any comments? This isn't a voting item, it's just information, but I think we can take public comment here.
I see Mr. Kaplan.
Yes, Mr. Kaplan.
I think maybe you mentioned, I just wanted to confirm that you received, CYMPO received this morning the letter, which I think is an important letter that came from the Yavapai Hill Sundog Committee, from Gary Anderson, spelling out at least where we are now, is the community is opposed to the Sundog, and wants to emphasize the importance of the.
I completely forgot to mention it. Yes, so we received the survey results in a well-written letter. I left home today as soon as I saw it, so I didn't get to dive deep. So everybody received it.
It says what it says. It speaks for itself. It is not, just to clarify, it is not a summary of the survey as much as it is a statement by the subcommittee of Yavapai Hills that they are opposed to the Sundog connector, and we thought it was important to what they.
Nelson, you have Mr. Kaplan's contact information. Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. This is an action item. If there's no further discussion from the TAC, or I'm going to wait and see if there's any, anyone attending virtually, if there's any comment on this item.
Who from tax come to the meeting besides myself?
The public open house.
Yes.
I plan to be there.
Myself,
Town
Ashley,
president.
and I think a Parks representative
I'm pretty sure Chief Dura.
and a chief, fire chief.
Very good. I'm gonna try to get Roger there as well. He's been ill the last couple of days, so hoping he's better and feeling up to Wednesdays.
I know for Prescott Valley, Lindsay touched upon it, but it was in our town news that goes out in all our utility bills. So that actually covers every home, particular residents throughout Prescott Valley if they get a utility bill. And we've done quite a bit of media outreach. That was 30 days ago and throughout. Make sure it's inclusive.
And I'll also say the county collected some traffic data for Yavapai Hills, as well as down in Valley, at locations that access 69. So we have some accurate data that has been provided to AECom this morning, as well as to the city.
Thank you.
So it looks like it's pretty good quality data. And we had no real glitches with the equipment. We checked up on it a few times during the 7-day collection time period. So I think it's good. And whether it'll be value or not, I don't know, but I'm happy to let AECom digest it and see if there's some value there. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know AECom, we've got a great level of confidence in them. They've done many studies and we've always been happy with their work and their exhaustive, research and making sure all the comments are included in addition to their technical expertise on what we're looking for a guided document, whatever that outcome is. I don't see anyone, or Allison hasn't indicated anyone that wants to speak. So if there's no further comment on this item, we'll move on to item number 6, which is review, discussion, and possible action to recommend approval of the consultant selection for the SR 69 urbanized corridor master plan. Lindsay, this is you again.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. So thank you to the members of the TAC who were also part of the scoring committee, including those who were able to send in their scores ahead of time. We did come to a consensus. So there were 4 consultant firms who submitted a proposal for this project: Kittleson and Associates, CivTech, Burgess and Nyepel, and IBI Group. IBI Group is out of California, but they've got an office in Scottsdale. The scoring committee came together and we did a debrief for our scores to make sure that there weren't any major gaps in our scores that needed to be discussed, and any lapses in understanding, mostly probably on my part. But we did come to a consensus, and we have chosen Kittleson and Associates. We have provided a draft professional services agreement in your packet today. Currently, our attorney, Tom Keck, and the legal team at Kittleson Associates are working on some of the red lines comments to that PSA, but we've got it there for your reference nevertheless. The scores were not so close. Number 1 was a clear number 1. There was a very tight number 2 and 3. So the scores shook out that way, and we've got our comments noted so that if consultants request a debrief with us, we've got some substantive conversations to have with them. So we'll be conducting those as they ask for them in the coming weeks. If any contract negotiations break down with Kittleson, we'll of course start with choice number 2. So we do present this here for your action and for recommendation. Are there any questions or comments about this so far?
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Good.
Gary, is the intention to take this contract to executive board at the next meeting?
It is, yes. So that way we could then go to the Board of Supervisors on October 5th and hopefully have a notice to proceed then on October 5th as well.
As far as comments about budget, this is within the simple planning budget. That's the monies that we've identified. So it's the scope and fee from Kittleson is within that particular budget item. And I think we're all real happy with the TAC with the scope of work and inclusivity. So important to point out, this is regional planning dollars that comes through federal government to CYMPO. So that's funding that's earmarked for studies like this. And that's why we're moving forward with. We did at our retreat last year and identify this corridor as a secondary priority to the Sundog Connector corridor. So we're moving forward with our commonality of our strategic plan. Lindsay touched upon that later this month. We're going to revisit that strategic plan for again this year. But we're in line with the public comments we take with our strategic plan, which is typically everything's posted on CYMPO's website. Allison does a good job managing that information. So just want to point out, this is our direction we've taken along collaboratively with our executive board. And so we're happy that we're moving forward with continued expenditure in the studies that we like to use to guide us that have public input. Any comments from the TAC?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
Wait, any comments from the public?
We have public.
And that, Mr. Kaplan?
I got more of a question. Can somebody explain what the relationship is between the Highway 69 urbanized corridor study and the Sundog project? And to what extent will the Highway 69 urbanized corridor project and whatever the consultants are going to do with that, to what extent are those going to touch on some of the same issues that might be involved with the Sundog connector project?
Great question.
But I'll speak on. Lindsay, do you want to take that one? or-
Sure. Well, the reason we did these studies concurrently was strategic to be able to give the decision makers two studies to look at and make some decisions on next steps. The relationship between the Sundog Connector team and the SR 69 team was so important that that was one of the major task items that we required in the scope of work. So there needs to be constant collaboration between, for now it's Kittleson and Associates for SR 69 and AECOM. They, in their scope of work, proposed monthly and even semi-monthly technical meetings to both teams. So it's aligned planning-wise very well. The build alternatives that we requested for SR 69 have to take into account if Sundog is built and then Sundog is not built. So the analysis of it goes hand in hand really carefully with the Sundog connector. So we're trying really hard to make sure that they're not siloed projects for that reason.
Well, you indicated, I think, just now that you used the word concurrent, that these are both concurrent, but I think what I've understood from what's been published so far is that the Highway 69 corridor was 1 year behind the Sundog, which is why Sundog came up for discussion last year, and this is just coming up now. Can you shed a little light on that?
Sure, I'll do the best I can because that portion of it happened a little bit before my time, so I've got my team here to help. But the regional transportation plan that's 2040 right now prioritized from years 1 through 5. And Sundog, I think, was like in year 5 before last year's retreat with our executive board. And it moved up in priority. Is that about accurate, Dan?
Yes, that's accurate. Enough that the executive board's position some funding to do that study. But during discussions of that with the executive board, it was determined that there was a strong interest in pursuing this for 69 as well. So we kind of hurried 69 master plan forward to get it moving forward at this time in hopes that they will conclude about the same time, the two studies, and our executive board will have input that they need to make decisions as to whether they want to chase money for potential construction or further design or whatnot at that time.
Is there any reason, is AECOM the consultant on the Sundog?
Yeah.
Why aren't they involved with those 69 projects?
I can do that. So Kittleson and Associates was the highest ranked of the four submittals. AECom did not submit for it because I feel they had their hands full with Sundog. However, there is a key member on the Kilson team that is on the AECom team for the Sundog study. So there is distinct overlap between the two and coordination between the two.
I see there's either Vinny or John has their hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Norm, this is Vinny. So just to add to what Lindsay and Dan both said, this goes back to the strategic planning retreat. The CYMPO board staff and TAC were attempting to reach a consensus whether year one was Sundog Connector or the State Route 69 Master Corridor was year one. Either way, it came down to year 1 and 2. Where we landed was Sundog 1, 69 2. With that, those staff's direction has been to complete both studies relatively about the same amount of time in order to give the regional decision makers the information on Sundog, the information on the 69 corridor plan. So at this point, we're looking at the end of calendar year next year, and we'll have the results from both studies, and that results will help decision makers decide to how they want to proceed forward. Is that the regional priority project of Sundog Connector, or is it 69 Master Corridor? 69, I would summarize, has always been a priority for the region. It's a 15.5-mile corridor. What this plan is going to do, though, is going to drill down and get into some pretty specific things as to what exactly needs to be addressed on the 69 corridor. I always use the example of the widening in front of Lowe's. We're widening 1 mile of highway in front of Lowe's. It's taken us $13 million and 10 years. So I know for the Yavapai Hills community and others, you know, there's a lot of, they want to see us really focus on 69, and I do not disagree with them. But for the region, we need to understand what that priority means. Is it widening? Is it other improvements? And what are we talking as far as resources go and length of time? So long answer, but to the question, I can't remember who that is from the public, but our intent is to have the results from both studies at the end of next calendar year.
Any further comments?
Mr. Chair,
Sorry.
Yes, Mr. Hughes.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommended consultants selected, Kettleson.
Second. I got one more comment.
Okay,
Just if you don't mind, just for the public's input, another key component in selecting Kettleson was their strong modeling background. Because we do see there being a direct correlation between the two corridors, whether one's built or built. And so to be able to back up information, we felt that a strong modeling team was appropriate for that. To help give everyone a little better information and better data on how to proceed. So and there were several reasons we liked Kettleson, and they rose to the top. But my opinion is they're a very strong team that is suited right for this. And I certainly support boarding in this company.
Just for clarification, that's traffic modeling.
Sorry, traffic modeling, that's correct. I get mired down in my engineering sometimes.
You have a motion and second on the floor. Give us some associates selection for this contract. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 7 today would be the Highway Safety Improvement Program, the HSIP update. And Lindsay is up again with Mike Blankenship as co-presenter for Green Light Traffic Engineer. Lindsay, you want to start?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And the presentation material that you'll see on your screen for HSIP infographic. Has actually been updated with the help of Andy Roth and some language in the SR 69 median. So you'll see 4 projects here. We got comments back from ADOT pretty late. And then as you've seen in the last week, we've gotten Mike's response to those comments. And so for that reason, the applications are now due on September 9th. Now there has been some further updates since you got this in your packet. And that was a result of the conversation that Mike Blankenship and Norm Davis and I had together about the Lakeshore Drive project. For several reasons, it sounds like that project is not going to move forward. Mike or Norm, would you please speak to that for us? Why don't we go with Mike Blankenship?
Sure. Yeah, there were several comments, good comments back from ADOT, and we knew when we first pursued this project that there might be some potential issues, but the fact that there were 2 fatal crashes on that segment of Lakeshore Drive led us to pursue the federal safety funding. However, after looking at it closer with ADOT, one of those 2 fatal crashes actually involved a medical condition, and therefore ADOT requested that one be removed from the analysis. That on top of the number of driveways that could potentially be impacted with this shoulder widening, providing paved shoulders, led us, again, in discussion with Norm, wanted to make sure that he was in agreement with what we were proposing, that drop out of contention based on not only the ADOT comments, but the other applications that we've seen and we've been involved with this round. It just wasn't going to compete favorably for the limited federal safety funds.
Thanks, Mike.
If I could come on behalf of Prescott Valley, the reason we do these studies is, there is a particular attention to when we collect, crash data in addition, of course, fatal accident data, and this one rose to the top. We need to look at this. Well, that's why you hire firms like Greenlight. They took a great look at it and found out it wasn't as favorable a candidate for HSIP funding. So to turn in a tough application that really wouldn't compete well, there's probably other worthier projects. And although Prescott Valley would love to have some federal funding and safety, this one doesn't meet the criteria as well as other ones do. And that's what you do when you hire a consultant, is you don't go after wrong pursuit. So it was a good exercise, and that's why you do these exercises. There's other stronger candidates for this funding.
I do know, Mr. Chair, that in the county, their cost estimates went up, which reduced your benefit cost ratio to about 7.2. So that was a change that Dan didn't expect to see in his.
Well, I kind of did.
Oh, you did.
I did. And we talked about that as well. And, I think there were thoughts at some point about, well, gosh, can we keep it elevated and then, recognize that if there's overages, that's on the county to make up the difference. But, ADOT put their microscope on it and found, that we weren't comfortable with the estimate figures as they stood. So it asked them to be raised, and I get that. And so as long as that's occurring across the board and everybody's facing the same scrutiny, I don't think it will affect our competitiveness on this one. So we're curious to see how it works out. My gut says that it may lower the cutoff line for the BC ratio as to what gets reported and what doesn't get. So then again, it may suck up so much money that really that dictates it.
And what is the current cutoff?
We don't know. It's going to depend on what gets submitted.
I see. Okay, I get it.
I guess a little more background. This is just a update item. My understanding too is the applications are due September 9th, so we appreciate ADOT's assistance to vet any particular problems which we did find, or make it the best applications we have, because that's what we want is the competitive environment is really whether that's on a technical basis, not particular passing it around equally. It's on a technical basis. So we appreciate all the technical expertise put in for these applications. So my understanding from here, each particular entity that has a HSIP application will make that application our own. Greenlight, Mike Blankenship's firm has helped assist with that application process. We've got skills there to make sure that it meets worthy submission requirements. So I think from here, each individual entity will be responsible to submit it on their own behalf. And we will see, I don't know exactly the timeline, Lindsay, if you can help me, application to do September 9th, but I'm sure there'll be a process timeline. We'll get response back. To Dan's point, I don't know when that cost benefit ratio, where that cutoff is, but these are all worthy candidates from past history of what cost benefit ratios were awarded. So we've got good candidates, and they were on the merits of the cost benefit ratios. And once again, the safety enhancements can go with these projects. So that's why they were chosen for this particular funding. So
County's going through a HSIP project over on Cornwall Road right now that was awarded several years back. You know, to reflect the concerns about cost estimates, that was about a $4.2 million grant to cover both design and construction. I think this construction originally was estimated around $3.5 million of the 4.2. Those costs have come in right about 4.2 total. And so the counties had to dig deeper in their pockets, about $700,000 over what we had originally committed to when the application was made. You know, we're still getting millions in for needed improvement on Cornville Road. I'm not complaining about it. The board seems to be supportive of that. We're having to, you know, move money around a little bit to make it work, but to me, it's a worthwhile project. And I know there are some local communities around the state that have just had to walk away because they don't have the funding available to cover the overage with an estimate that, you know, was years old at this point. So it's understandable. We're very supportive of what Mike has done to go back and work with ADOT and come up with cost estimates that everybody's is comfortable with.
Norm, can I ask a clarifying question? So, will Prescott, for instance, on Phil Fair and Gil Gardner, the signal, will we, Vinny and Mike, be physically submitting the electronic application? I just want to clarify that because, I mean, obviously we have our cover letter, you've given us all our comments, but that's not going to go from CYMPO. That's going to go from us. I'm just going to clarify that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Vinny and Ian. Absolutely. So after this action item, CYMPO's hands are done with the process. We now turn over the applications to you. Mike will give you the final application. He's cleaned it up for you, Ian, but it's now the responsibility for that traffic signal, the city of Prescott, to get whatever final signature and submit it. And then from this point forward, again, the responsibility comes back to Prescott. Should there be any scope changes, any revisions, cost, any issues come up? So respectively, that's to each of the jurisdictions. So CYMPO's part is done today, Ian, after this action item.
Perfect. Thank you.
Can I jump in? Vinny, I know you're never wrong on anything, but in the past, the final applications have been submitted by the regional planning agency, CYMPO in this case. So unless that has changed, and I don't think it has, Ian and Dan would sign their cover letters on their respective letterheads and then send that over to you, Vinny, for either you or Lindsay or Allison to submit to ADOT. And I'll double check on that, but that's how it's been done in the past.
Mike, thanks for handling that so delicately. I appreciate that. So Ian, I guess, and I will clarify that, yes, Lindsay and I are more than happy to turn it in, but I still would offer clarification that, again, our responsibility literally is a mail carrier at that point. You know, all ownership liability is on the respective jurisdiction. So with that said, Ian, we're happy to turn it in for you. That's no problem. Just to be clear.
Yeah, I had like a couple weeks ago, I reached out to the HSIP manager or whatever contact and just confirmed on the deadline. So I'm just making sure nothing gets missed. Worst case, it gets submitted.
Hi, this is Myrna. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So just to verify that, so the reason why it is the local jurisdiction's responsibility to submit the applications themselves is because the funding that Greenlight was awarded is federal funding. And so in this case, federal funds cannot be used to but federal funds cannot be used to apply for federal projects. And that's the reason why.
Well, and Myrna too, I guess for additional clarification, yeah, again, it's the signature of the cities. The cities are agreeing to this, they're signing it. So again, what I said a few minutes ago, Lindsay and I will literally be mail carriers. We are not, CYMPO is not submitting the applications. Again, if the Prescott signs it, they're the ones officially submitting it. We're just logistically helping them get it through the mail system. So I'm in full agreement with you, so I hope that makes sense to the TAC members.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Ben, Jerry has a comment.
And Vinny, be aware that the county is working on at least a couple more applications. Is that right, Mike? You can nod, yes.
Correct.
I assume those need to go through the local NPO as well?
Dan, they can. Jen O'Connor from NACOG contacted us, and she copied Mike Blankenship, and I guess the summary of the email was she deferred to CYMPO, even though they're technically not in our boundary, they're adjacent, and that we could follow up with Mike and work with him. So Mike, those NACOG county ones, Lindsay and I are happy to submit if that helps the process, or if we need to work with Jen, either way.
Yeah, I will.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'll follow up with Mona and Larry, to verify who they need to come from, who's going to send the email. But the two that Dan is referring to for Iron Springs Road, yes, I think they do have to come through NACOG, even though Jennifer O'Connor, deferred to CYMPO and us since we were working on the applications. But I think technically, if they're coming from the planning agency, those two would come from NACOG. Again, I'll shoot an email off to Larry and Mona at ADOT and verify all of this. Just one more comment on those two that Dan's referring to. Those actually are not due to ADOT until September the 16th, because the comments from ADOT were received later for those two.
Thanks for clarifying, Mike. Sorry to bring county business into CYMPO.
How dare you?
My agenda says this is no action required. Do we need any action? This is just update. So any other comment from the TAC? Mike, thank you for your work on this. Any further comments from you or Myrna?
Not for me.
I'm seeing everybody know. So if there's no further comments, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 8. Which would be federal and state updates. So first one we got is our time to get ADOT, local public agency. What do you have for us?
Mr. Chairman, CYMPO members, my name is Mark Hennig. I'm ADOT local public agency section program side. And we try to help you all program federal funds and get projects established, initiated, basically the starting line after every program. Just a couple of announcements or updates here with regard to you can see on the agenda of Rural Summit. It is on the upcoming meetings. A couple of specific items that will be discussed with that information passed along at the Rural Summit here in September 14th and 15th. First one is ADOT implementation of the IIJA, or what's referred to as the bill. And I'll just say, hold on to your hat for that one. There's lots of programs, as you all know, involved with that. And I've mentioned at previous meetings that I've been involved with the bridge portion of that, the bridge formula, a number of them, the TA. And I highly recommend you get that information. I'm sure Vinny will be there. The other one is on day one is Smart Fund.
overview. There is a smart fund, but then I want to let you know, to avoid some confusion, there's AZ Smart Fund or Arizona Smart Fund. That's different than the smart funds. That's going to be rolled out and information. I'll come back to that in a moment. That's a key thing that I think is going to mean a lot to you all. Day 2, ADOT 5-year program overview. Again, I know Myrna's here and may have some announcements on that. And Day 2 programming 101. Those are just a couple of items at the Rural Summit that I find interesting that you all, I'm sure some of you may be there. So back to that AZ Smart Funds. I don't want to open this onion too far, but I just want to say that we and I hope we can. There's a number of dollars that's being set aside specifically for giving you all local agencies. And again, they'll roll that all out. I won't get into the weeds of that, but I'll just say that there's 3 categories for use of that AZ Smart Funds. That's going to be to help you all cover maybe up to 50, as much as 50% of your grant writing. Okay, and that's one of the uses of the funds. And so you apply for that. And I know MPD, again, the folks that are heading the team up will be at the Rural Summit going over that application process, rolling out the first version of that. And the second opportunity for funding with the AZ Smart Funds is to be a reimbursement of non-federal match for a federal grant. So there's going to be 17, 18 grants or programs that come out of this bill. And if there's a matching component, I guess my terminology is you can apply for matching funds out of the AZ Smart Funds to accommodate getting these projects going. Because again, we're all at this similar goal to improve our infrastructure in our state. So that's the second one. It gets a little confusing on the flow chart. My red pen was working the other day, and I'm also trying to make sure I understand it all of it. That's going to be coming soon. So I think that's going to be really key for you all to apply for that and get some projects going. And third and final use is reimbursement for design and other engineering services and getting regular design bid build projects going. And so, again, has to fall into programs that are outlined in the IIJA bill. And I won't peel that onion any further right now, but I think that's going to be a good opportunity for many of the tax member agencies to take advantage of it. Third and final comment, and it is a pleasure to be up here to see you all again, getting out in person meetings. We are here to help you best we can, and visit the district office, of course, Mr. Roth. But the Everyday Counts quarterly meeting that I chair, we canceled the last 2 meetings, waiting for this bill information to come out. And I constantly request information. I know you may or may not have a lot of federal funded projects, but if there's any challenges, solutions, things that aren't working, things that are working, bring it to the table. That's a forum that we do want to address, implement, change processes to be more conducive to delivering Fed aid projects. That meeting in September is canceled, that quarterly one, because there's the Rural Summit and the Roads and Streets, plenty of meetings. But I do want you all to keep that in the back of your mind if there's any issues or items specific with programming and planning or the development process to deliver these federal aid projects. And know, Frank, you're on that committee. Some others from CYMPO were on that as well. Please shoot me those items and we will try to address them with whichever department within ADOT, whether it be finance, clearances with utilities, environmental, whatever, or development. And so I'll go back my time. Thank you. Mark, thank you. You're always a big advocate for what we do as local public agencies in the rural areas. So thank you for always being available to give us good information when it's available. Appreciate it. Any other comments? Dan?
I got a question for Mark. In this a little bit out of left field for you, I suspect, but we've applied for some congressionally directed spending
Yes.
through Senator Kelly's office. We've been shortlisted. This is for a roadway construction project over in the Verde Valley.
Okay.
It's not, necessarily a formal federal grant type program. I don't know if it's what you want to call it, earmark funds or something. What does the county have to go through if we get that award?
I have heard of the quote earmarks. I have another spreadsheet here with lots of colors on it. And we did, I'll just say this, there's congressional earmarks that came through HUD, which was very unique. We have 6 projects in our state. One of them was with Guadalupe, lighting a canal pathway. And I know Snowflake, there's, like I said, 6 projects. We just initiated our first project. The process is SOP, standard operating procedures for initiating and establishing a project. Has to be programmed in the tip, then it comes through my shop. We get the project number set up, Bed 8 ID, sign a PM to it, and move it along. That was a unique one, again, because it was a congressional earmark through HUD, which was different. And so I'll really yield to any comments that Myrna or MPD want to make, because these earmarks, then there's the state earmarks. They'll still have to be initiated and again, established. And 2 years, the last 2 years of earmark funding, there's been 2 pathways. The first year, we were very much involved as an LPA group, reaching out to you all, whoever was selected, to say, okay, let's get an IGA going. And some of them, then a decision was made, I guess, to have them as direct recipients where you can run your own project yourself. And then the second year, they started to go down that pathway and it changed. And the JPA section, Trina Lopez, again, drop names, but they just ended up getting an IGA going with the agencies that were direct recipients, and we were completely out of it. So
Yeah, okay.
those earmarks
That
can
helps
be
a lot.
unique, but
And I was curious if a direct recipient route was even possible. It sounds like it has been done in the past, but is not necessarily going to be an option in the future. And so we'll talk about it when we find out more. I mean, the money's not even been, signed on the dotted line. It's just, it's got to go through appropriations. It's got to be argued, by our Senate, probably, House would probably have to argue about it too, is my guess. So, that's a long way from now. But I came to me that, we haven't gone through that process before. So it would be something we certainly would reach out to you guys on if and when it comes, and you may even reach out to us before.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I want to get these projects, as you all know, again,
we weren't sure if we'd be even working with Federal Highway Administration on that. So.
right. And that's where I know Myrna may have some information. I don't want to put her on the spot by any means, but Paul Patney, I know over MPD, he's been involved with discussions at the higher level on those projects and the different programs. But LPA, we're at the front to establish those if needed, or if that's the path it's going. I thought I heard even those state ones would need to follow our standard operating procedures. Federal Highways wanted us to have, or the ADOT to have the oversight and monitoring of that monies. But where in the previous year, I believe it was state funding that was given. So I'll stop there unless Myrna wants to add to that, since I know she's on the line.
Hi.
Good
So
discussion.
we haven't received any direction regarding those projects from Paul Patney, our director. I know that there was some consideration because we've received some questions from other regions regarding what the process is for these projects. So unfortunately, we don't have anything right now in terms of how they're going to be implemented. But it's my understanding, however, that direct recipient is not completely off the table. So just, when I learn more, I will certainly distribute the information out to you. But like I said, right now, we really don't have anything definitive. Thank you.
Thanks, Myrna.
Dan, what's your project? And
This is a roundabout on Cornville Road at Tissaw. This is a project that had been identified last year through NACOG for getting some of this RTAC money. And then they said no local projects and got yanked. So we turned around and submitted the same application project, and that NACOG had us go through to Senator Kelly's office when they said, hey, it's open season on congressionally directed spending. And they said, boy, we think it's a good project. So it'd be like, feds would cover about half the cost. Sounds like our estimate's around 5 million. It's about 2.5 million that we got in the hopper with the feds, but it doesn't mean that it's awarded. And if we don't get it, if I don't have to federalize this project, trust me, there's a lot of, pain that I avoid that way as well. So, but, I take 2.5 million. I don't know that I take 1 million from the feds, but I might take 2.5 million.
Is that the 169?
No, it is not on the tip yet.
It's not, it won't be this.
Because it hasn't really gotten federal funding officially, so.
Vinny, I see you've been waiting patiently with your hand up. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. And just a reminder to the group and Dan, so CYMPO also put in for congressionally directed spending through Senator Kelly's office. We have been given, I guess you would say, a tentative approval. So we have $480,000 earmarked for the design concept report and environmental overview for the widening of State Route 89A between State Routes 89 and Glassford Hill Road. But again, to Dan's point, none of this is finalized. It has a process to go through. The webinar that Lindsay and I attended, as I understood it, those monies, if ultimately approved by the US government, would then be treated like they would go through the federal highway process and dollars and requirements. So CYMPO would receive those dollars for that particular project. So we're a bit in the same boat as to Yavapai County. Our fingers are crossed. Everything we've received from the office looks positive. So we're hopeful. And a reminder to the group too, we do have it programmed in the tip for next year. This is after the 69 corridor plan. We do have that DCR in our tip. So if awarded these monies, we would basically move everything up in our tip by 1 year is how we're looking at it, just to let you all know.
The sheriff also has some money. It's been kind of given preliminary short list is what I've been saying on it as well, which is not transportation related. I think they're buying equipment or something like that. So of course that would probably take a whole different avenue. We'll see. All right.
Vehicles, good enough.
I think it's kind of vehicle that flies.
Probably still a long wait for those.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Chair, I do have one question for Mark. Put you on the spot again, maybe, but, and I don't know if it affects the CYMPO because of the transportation boundaries. Maybe the county's got some of these, but the state money and some of the revenues, like Kevin always talks about, I guess, 5 billion budget surplus this year and things, is you got to consider maybe bringing back some of the planning assistance money. Because it's been maybe 5 or 6 years now since
Those far studies. Yeah,
I think some dogs are part study. Yeah, 13.
Yeah. So that all, I believe, came through MPD. I have not heard that. I do not see the PARA study. Again, I don't know if that was something that was part of the, what is in, well, we're in a continuing federal program, aren't we? So it was the previous program,
Yeah.
I think, federal program. So again, I'll yield to MPD. That's their lane, really. But if that money was there, I'm sure you might have to come through our shop. I don't know, but
maybe just take it as a comment that I know a lot of communities benefited from that program. So,
We did Willow Creek too. We had to. Willow Creek realignment was a pair. That's right. And so it's
a bug in your
whatever,
ear.
yeah, whatever you want to say.
Maybe just a bug in your.
We built 2 roads out of it.
Anyone's looking for ideas for things like.
So completing number 8A. Let's go on to B. Andy Roth.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. As far as some of our construction projects right now, I think we heard this in the last meeting, but for the public on this meeting, 69 down at basically Poland Mayor, actually up to Dewey Humboldt Main Street. We finished the spot repairs on that project, but it doesn't look like we're going to get the ACFC done in this season because the rains have cooled down the temperatures significantly out there. So we're looking at that may be coming back next summer to finish up that project. And that would follow into our 89A from 89 to Glasser Hill Road and our Glasser Hill Road to Patty Springs Road projects. Same thing on that one. We got our spot repairs done on the main AC, but not the ACSs. So more than that one next year, probably. Sunset Point Rest Area. We have had to hold off on that one due to governor's directive and to put in a temporary rest area at Badger Springs. So hopefully by the end of this month, we have the temporary rest area open, in which case then we can then close down the main rest area and do the work we need to do out there, which is going to be about an 8-month project with Sunset Point closed down. The only thing that will allow in the Sunset Point rest area during that time frame will be semi-truck parking out there. In design, we have the True with the Stone Ridge Drive. The legislature had, state legislature had added some budget to that project of 1.6 million, more or less, to help out with cost increases. Stage 4, our 95% design was completed, or actually we're waiting for that design submittal to come in for review. And then hopefully go to bid on that one second quarter of fiscal year 23. 69 Prescott Lakes Parkway to Frontier Village, the 3rd lane widening. We finished up the stage 4 95% submittal this month. And we are anticipating that going to bid the second quarter of fiscal year 23. Actually, I think they said hoping to bid that in December of this year for that. I-17 State Route 169 TI deck replacement on that structure. We are completing our stage 500% design review on that one with a anticipated bid advertisement second quarter of fiscal year 23 as well. On State Route 169 from Grant Woods Parkway to I-17 Centerline Rumble Strip project, our 60% design review comments were completed end of last month. And hopefully 3rd quarter of fiscal year 23 for bid advertisement on that project. The State Route 69 at 169 roundabout, the again legislature added 1.5 million to that project in the 2023 budget. We don't have a design consultant yet on board for that project, but they're having that one anticipated for 4th quarter of fiscal year 23 bid advertisement. We'll see how that goes, because that's June of next year. So, and then finally, State Route 89 from Paulton to Ashford, Centerline Rumble Strip project. We design kicked off that in August, and 4th quarter of fiscal year 23 for advertisement on that project. That would be my update.
Any questions of Andy? Moving on to C would be Myrna. You have any comments today on your item, multimodal planning division?
Hi, so I just have a few. ADOT P2P process for the 24 to 28 5-year construction program. We are going through the district workshop right now. We did hold the North Central District workshop this past Tuesday. There are 2 more district workshops to go, and after that, the state will prioritize the submitted projects for the tentative program. The long range transportation plan, we also held a TAC meeting for that last week on August 23rd. If you missed it and would like to attend the next one, the next meeting will be on September 27th. This is your region's opportunity to provide input for the long range transportation plan regarding what type of projects you'd like to see in the region. So if you're not in the invite list and would like to start receiving them, please feel free to reach out to myself or Jason James, and we'll make sure to get you included in that invite list. The freight plan updates, that is also ongoing. Right now, they're in the process of identifying some potential projects, possibly for this cycle, this 24 to 28. If they cannot get a consensus on that, it might have to wait until next year's cycle. So then, which also connects to the statewide rest area study, which is I'm the project manager for right now. That project, we're identifying deficiencies within the state systems in terms of rest areas, if any needs to be reopened, or potential new ones, which we really can't think of any right now. So both of those are kind of going together concurrently, and but we won't be submitting any projects into this cycle in the P2P. It will most likely be next year's. And then we do have one new study that we just started. The purpose of that study is basically developing guidelines and design standards for installing wireless communication infrastructure within the ADOT right-of-way. So that's currently probably going to advertise sometime real soon. It's being reviewed right now by our procurement division. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Anything for Myrna? Questions from the TAC? Seeing none, hey, I would like to make comments on upcoming meetings before we go to item number 9. Just some important ones. September's a big month. I think we touched on some of it, but just, and thank you for including the agenda, Vinny and Allison. But September 14th and 15th, the Rural Transportation Summits in Maricopa. Hope you're signed up for that and make note of that to attend. There's lots of good information. I think Mark touched upon that earlier. The State Transportation Board meeting will be Friday of that particular, after that summit. And then another big one for here is the next executive board meeting will be September 21st. We know that's going to be the City of Prescott Council Chamber. And then we touched upon too, our strategic plan retreat will be at 10 o'clock on September 22nd with the executive board. So big month for some of that collaboration and getting together on some of those particular meetings. There's nothing else from the group. Apologize for starting a little late today with that meeting run late. Mark's got something.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question that I'd like to ask you and your TAC member agencies that came to mind after. Is there any interest in emergency relief projects or funding or that process? I bring this up because ADOT has been refining that process. We have a number of we call them PR projects. Some of you may be familiar with that. I just, Jerry James is our, has basically updated that type of standard work and the processes. And we've got a number of those projects moving along now. And he has a brief presentation that we've been talking internally to get this information out to TAC member agencies. It's like a 10-minute PowerPoint. He spoke at NACOG. I don't know if you or Vinny or your TAC member agencies are interested in having Jerry do that presentation here. I just want to put that out there.
That's emergency relief.
Emergency relief is getting federal funding if an event happens, a storm that wipes out a road. And we need a declaration signed by the governor to get federal funds to emergency repair. Sometimes right now, sometimes hey, we got to close this road and do a design and put it out there. But there's a process to get those funds to address that. I don't know if anybody else wants to go into that, Andy or anything, but any comment, but it's a way to repair that so the public is safe and the road is then reopened, but it's a reimbursement type program. So locals a lot of times do the work, they put the money out, fix the road, fix the whatever, and then they get reimbursed. There's a process there. We tried to smooth that process out, expedite it. And that's what Jerry would present to you all, how to submit that or big overview, about 10 minutes or so.
Thank you, Mark. We may want to look at upcoming TAC meeting. That'd be, I think, beneficial to us all.
Yeah.
We've been there.
Yeah, I'm not
Unfortunately.
familiar with that. That sounds good. Roger probably heard of it.
After monsoon season, there's,
Yeah, that sounds like a good one.
anyway,
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, we've utilized that on a lot of our roadways, and like Mark said, it's a reimbursement program. So yes, we spend the money, do the work, get it done, and then submit the cost then that we incurred to the program and then receive the reimbursement back.
If I can ask, is that the FHA? I've done both FHA and FEMA years ago, but it'd be more on the FHA.
FHWA. Yes, and he would define those basic terms just to get that understanding of the program, as that's Jerry's level running the program, but then how does that all work? How would you go about it? It would answer some of those questions. And again, it's meant to be a presentation at a TAC meeting, not consume your time. But he's only, I think, presented at NACOG, and we just ran into a little snafu because we still need an environmental document, but the work's already been done. And those are little wrinkles that we've been learning too. So I just want to put that out there. I think it'd be a good, you guys, given your proximity, might be useful.
Good comment, Mark. Anything else from the TAC? Anyone? Vinny, anything else? Looking at Lindsay and Allison. We good? We'll move forward with item number 9, seeing nobody raising their hands. All in favor to adjourn, please say aye.
Right.
Opposed? Thank you all for coming today.
Yeah.
Couple